Thank you for being here. I welcome you all to this session on social impact and women-led organization. Just a brief background on WISE. The Women Initiative for Social Entrepreneurs, Social Entrepreneurship WISE, is an international movement stemming from the Global South that aims to elevate the number, the power, and knowledge of female social entrepreneurs by redefining success from a gender lens and celebrating women who successfully lead and make impact. How are we looking at impact? How can we impact of knowledge, the fact of putting social themselves as questions to join to create. Thank you very much. And what you are doing.
Thank you so much, Auntie Jo. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Esther Ashet. I'm a social worker. I'm a career catalyst, and the work that I do in After School Center for Career Development is we actually work with young persons at transitional levels of their careers, particularly young persons in high school, just graduating from high school, and also young persons from the university who are actually at their transitional stage, moving out of the university to the workplace. So the work that we do is actually to promote the seamless transition of these young persons from school to work. So the bulk of our work is actually around working on their employability skills, training them to have employability skills and to also have technical skills. And we do this in Calabar. Calabar is in the south of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Esther. Bukola.
Hi everyone, hi ladies. My name is Bukola Bolarinwa. I am a lawyer, but I also run a social enterprise and an NGO, starting with the Sickle Cell Aid Foundation. What we do is raise awareness about sickle cell and support people living with sickle cell. And through that, I started the organization called Haima Health Initiative, which supports patients and healthcare providers with blood and blood products. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Manti.
Hello, good afternoon again. My name is Manti Moore, and I work with Purple Patch Consult and Academy. The Academy has evolved from just managing education consultancy to prioritizing the work of providing curriculum that develops leadership, technology learning for students and people in public school areas, and then also creating products that content curriculum that helps leaders have a way to work with students in communities, which means that there's a mentoring system that is ongoing as they grow, rapidly grow. The last few years, we have concentrated in not just helping women become a part of leadership, but also introducing them to mentors from different parts, like the work we do with Mr. Justin Zaram, to see how they can create that balance where women can also support their women to get into power and kick open the doors for them. So that's what I do.
Thank you, Manti.
Yes,
Paula?
thank you so much for the opportunity. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paula Ogu. I am the Youth and Partnership Manager for Ashoka in Anglophone West Africa. Essentially, my work centers around identifying and supporting young change makers in the Anglophone West Africa region to basically give more visibility to the work that they're doing, so doing increasing the social impact for their work in the region, and also encouraging them to work within clusters and also to engage in partnerships that would help position them for success and in the longevity of their change-making journey or the work that they're doing in the region and even across Africa as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. So given that you are working with organizations, multiple organizations led by women and other entrepreneurs, I would like to know, have you observed how these organizations, the women-led organizations, perceive social impact? You, Esther? You are woman on so
Thank you, Auntie Jo, for that question. So, I mean, I will speak from different fronts, but I would like to start with number one, which is actually the social return on investment that our work brings to the communities that we work with. Nigeria already has, we know already the statistics for Nigeria, but just to reiterate some of them, we have 200 million people as a population, and annually tertiary institutions, both universities, monotechnics, polytechnics, and colleges graduate 1.8 million young persons every year. And most of these young persons do not have employability skills. They cannot write their CV, they cannot hold a conversation, they don't have the technical skills. Again, because our educational system is very theoretical, so it doesn't give them the employability skills they need to actually be fit for the workplace. So the work that we do is to work with these young persons and get them to become strategic fits for the workplace, both by providing them and training them on employability skills and also technical skills. So the social investment, the social return on investment of our work has really been immense. And this is actually cutting across different areas. So whether it's, for example, in health, whether it's in the education sector, whether it's in, in finance, whether it's in social media or in information communications technologies, like we've trained young persons across the board. And we already know, like from basic economics, that an investment on education is actually the investment on the future of any nation. So the work that we really do, or how we actually perceive impact, is first of all from the social return on investments that the education that we provide actually helps from on a cascading level, right from the family level. It helps to transform the skill set of these young persons, enabling them move their family and move themselves out of the poverty cycle. On a community level, of course, it does help small businesses, SMEs. It helps large size corporations and companies to actually have the right set of human resources. And then on a macro level, it actually also does help our country to be able to have the right set of personnel to fill out positions, and then to also attract foreign direct investments. Because I mean, before you have FDIs coming to your country, the human capacity development of that country is actually being accessed. So our work is actually cascading from the family level, to the macro level at the larger scale of things. And then the thing is that the multiplier effect of this investment, is also seen across different levels. Again, from a personal level of self, from the personal level of self leadership, to the macro level at the national scale.
All right. Thank you, Esther. So I'm coming back to Paula. Paula, you are working with a diverse number of women leaders and entrepreneurs. What would you observe them and how they think about their concept of social in the organization? What would you say about that?
What I would say about it is essentially making comparisons between women social entrepreneurs, the young change makers in our network, and their male counterparts in the network. If you look at it, they both genders view social impact to be the same, but then when it comes to the female social entrepreneurs, they're thinking more mindsets, getting to the root of problems, basically trying to change norms and ideals or traditions that have history of encouraged an infringement on human rights of people unknowingly or knowingly. And also, they're also trying to challenge some types of cultures that have also encouraged inequalities over the years. So essentially, for every young change maker in a network, be it male or female, there's an understanding that problems need to be tackled with a systems view, the systems ideal. So that's what makes our network really unique. People are not people don't want to work in silos. They understand that social impact is felt when multi-stakeholders who have a part to play in solving these problems are involved. So from a really young age, the young change makers in our networks, and especially the female young change makers in our network, are coming together in clusters. So recently we had the Community of Practice for Girl Development with a very strong number of it's an all-female group coincidentally, and they're doing very amazing work in the area of female empowerment and also fighting against sexual violence that's affecting women and girls. And they've also understood that in this work to fight for inequality in gender inequality, that it's not a matter of just putting women together. They are willing to work with they see the men as partners who have a part to play. So basically getting them to understand that these things are coming from patriarchal systems. You need to understand it like everybody loves their mother essentially. And when you bring it from that angle of, oh, you love your mom, so you want the best for your mom. So why don't you want the best for somebody else who maybe is your wife or someone else's sister? So it's a really, really, like, I'm so impressed with that network of young people at that young age, a younger generation who are doing it better than the older generation. They're bringing the men on board and saying, let's do this together, let's collaborate, let's work in these clusters together. And they're very open to sharing the success. They don't just want it for themselves. They're open to collaborating and also learning from the older generation. So their perception of social impact is really ingrained to changing mindsets, which I know may take time, but then it's actually the core of solving systemic problems that we have in society.
Wow, thanks, Paula. That's amazing. Bukola, you are one of those young change makers, women, young girls trailing a blaze of excellence. I would like to know, in starting your organization, Halima Health, what did you think about social impact? Was it did you have it at the back of your mind? Is it part of the DNA of your organization?
Thank you, Josephine. And yeah, you guys at Ashoka always make me feel so amazing with all the compliments you always give. But I think that yes, it is, because so we went, like I said before, when we started, I have sickle cell myself, so I understood the need for blood from a very personal perspective, as well as from the people that we were working with, the need for blood transfusion. So I felt that gap from a very personal perspective, and that is really what went into designing and creating our organization, is that when you've had a personal experience with the healthcare system and you feel like something is lacking, there's a different way that you solve the solution versus if you come at it from like a commercial perspective, or you come at it from maybe even a medical perspective. I feel like even some of the doctors that are on our team, the way they look at it is because they're on the other side of it. So every time we design programs, or every time we try and solve problems, we do it from a very patient-centric point of view. And that is really thinking about empathy, really thinking about how does that person feel at that particular time when, say, you're looking for blood for your relative, or you're looking for blood for yourself, and that gap, and what does that actually do to you, and how can we solve that? So for us, everything was designed, and all our programs and all our goals are really designed towards making things easier for a particular patient or for a particular caregiver at that perspective. So that really went into designing our organization, designing our programs and everything. And in terms of like speaking to other change makers as well, I think that oftentimes we go in with a solution first approach a lot of times in Nigeria, I think, and not just Nigeria, a lot of places as well, without really thinking through the problem, right? And really putting yourself in the perspective of the person that you think you're trying to help. So oftentimes people design programs and say, oh, say for example, girls who are under 12, this is what they want, and this is the book we're doing for them, or this is the intervention, or this is the program. But have you actually asked the 12-year-old girl what she actually wants? Have you spoken to her? Have you had focus groups and really asked them, how would you like this particular problem to be solved? So it's very, I think that's very designing programs and for social entrepreneurs is really putting yourself in the shoes and asking the people that you think that you want to help what it is that they actually want.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bukola. It's always important not to describe, not for us to prescribe what people will do, but to get what is that. So many and you lead and just that will see social.
Hear me now?
Matt,
Okay.
you're on
How do I
mute.
perceive social
Yes, we
impact?
can.
Can you hear me? Okay. How
Yes,
do
we
I
can.
perceive social impact? I perceive social impact as ways in which my work creates sustainability. What do I put into my programs to make it more sustainable? I realized I don't start when we started with Teen Nation and that we thought that our major need would be funding for either of our events. However, with having many teen leaders across Africa come together at our events, we realized that void having the finance that ran the event, you needed a sustainability plan that kept these people in check, that got them to collaborate with other leaders, like when we work with the Ashoka Young Change Makers, and that helped them evolve from where they were at the time they attended our events to who they became in society that was taking the work. So the first thing we look at is how sustainable is this idea that we're bringing to board? How sustainable, how are we going to sustain this? And sustainability doesn't just have to do with the budget being met, is how does it impact the direct community that these young people, these women, these professionals go back into? And then how do they scale up the work that they do in such ways that it doesn't completely burden them, but it gives other people the reason to be a part of the impact that is being created. Another thing we look at is what are the benefits, who is benefiting from this? And so we first, like Bukola said, we look at what's the need. We don't just create solutions based on what we think is the need of the people. We really ask, what are the needs? Currently, we realize that taking Teen Nation as an example, there's not a lot of work aside from the work that people like Esther do with after school that helps, transit them from secondary school, gives them mentoring and that. There's not a lot of body of work that is done for teenagers. So how do we create work that benefits? So this is our target group. Who are the beneficiaries for this work that we want to do? And then we also go into understanding what's the data, because we realize we can't serve everybody, but how many people can we serve per time? And how does our serving this number of people help us to scale up to A, B, C, D, E? For example, we work with young teen leaders that are already taking up, or we build them into people that take up leadership in their communities. But then also we understand that in these communities where they live in, they work with people that have had to deal with a lot of social vices, and that how stable are they to take the work? What work are you doing as a team leader? So when we have a team leader, what work do you want to do? Do you work with agriculture? Do you work with street kids? What departments of work do you do? So we scale up from there. We're able to know the content we create for them that helps their own beneficiaries too. And we also often ask the question to our team leaders, how do these people benefit from you coming to a trip in Lagos? Why do we fly you all the way to Lagos? Why do I send you to Calabar? Why do I send you to Esther? Why do I put Esther as your mentor? Why does she spend her time to mentor you? What is your reach? Who do you want to reach? How do you want to reach them? And what is the story you're taking on? So those are things. See who is going to benefit from it, how many people actually benefit from this, and how exactly. So who, what, why, and how. Those are the things we look at in creating our social impact curriculum, so to speak.
Okay. Oh, all right. Thanks, Manti. I'm still on you because you things and you're a lead of a cross-sectoral organization. So that's what you focus on. What would you say are the challenges of prioritizing social impact for women leaders? What challenges have you seen?
So I think that the challenges we basically have for prioritizing social impact is first, I would even start at why do we have these challenges? We're first emotional beings. We're thinking of how do we meet the need? What do I get to meet this need? We're not thinking, okay, when we start to meet this need, how do we sustain this need? How does it wear us out? How does community benefit? We just see a need. We don't look at the bigger picture sometimes, and then we run towards the need. So a woman that goes to work every day, we realize that our professional women, we ask them this simple question, why do you work? And you hear, I work because I want my kids to go to and be able to go to good schools. I work because they do this. I work because I want my teenage son to be able to do this. But they do not also realize that in working, they are creating the impact of raising the bar for their children and making their children to want to be better. They want their children look at them every day and look up to them every day. And so I think that the first challenge a woman has is that of emotions, that she is clad with the need to attend to a present issue, a present challenge, and not tasked with thinking long term. Because so many things come at her, she's like, okay, how do I fix this? And how do I go this too? We weren't raised like I think it's Esther that mentioned that we weren't really raised as people to think long term, to think community. We were first raised as selfish beings, especially our community doesn't allow you to begin to think, how does what I do? We are first thinking, how do I take care of myself? How do I take care of my direct community? So you're not even thinking of what you do. So, i.e., let me give a clear example. So we visited communities where these teenagers live in breathing challenges. Why do they have a breathing challenge? They have because the house next to theirs has a generator consistently on because this parents can afford that and wants their children to always have light. So as much as you're meeting the need of your children, you're allowing them to watch learning programs on TV, you're not thinking of how that affects your environment. So two, we need to be taught as women and we need to think as women, how does what I do today affect what happens tomorrow? How does it affect community? What does 1 hour of my time in this contribute to 1,000 hours of even reaching the global goals that we want to reach? So first, emotions. Two is learning, unlearning what it is that we've learned over the years and relearning. Even I had to relearn. I had to let go a lot of thinking. And then, or more often than not, we're thinking profit when we start any business. And as much as there's going to be profit, and my friend Esther will always say business is run because of profit. But then also, at the end of the day, you look across board and you see that most of the work she's doing is basically to impact community. And you wonder, where does the funding come? I have also learned that, when women prioritize what the problem is, how to create sustainable solutions, the challenges we face every day in broadening our scope will be changed and met.
Thank you, Manti. You really brought a wonderful view of all the things that happens from generation to generation and how knowledge is being passed and how it is even perceived and the part of socialization, how we the current things, the challenges.
Thank you, Auntie Jo, for that great question. Indeed, There are actually lots of challenges, but I would like to prioritize the first one, leading off from where Manti stopped. One is really capacity building, capacity development, in a broader sense of it, because we really don't, until recently, when we have like organizations like Ashoka and other social impact or social entrepreneurship building organizations, we really didn't have like a lot of capacity building. Only a few organizations like Ashoka, like the Enterprise Development Center, do actually offer training to social and impact entrepreneurs. And a lot of such training is very much needed, because I mean, also in school, like you don't get to learn how to run a social business. Okay, so capacity building, I would say, is one big challenge in terms of how to structure your work. In fact, before I became an Ashoka fellow, I didn't know anything about systems changing, or I didn't even know that my work was actually changing systems. So it took my Ashoka fellowship and training to actually be able to understand the scope of my work and understand the scope of the problems I'm trying to solve. And I think the other thing, Manti did talk about it, is actually also funding. And funding, not just in the sense of being able to raise finance or fundraising for an organization, but actually the entire funding spectrum to the work that we do. Some countries do offer, some countries, particularly the US, Canada, and also like South Africa, do offer funding to non-profit organizations, either by contracting or granting. In our country, is significantly different. So the funding structure and the financial innovations around funding that's available for the work that we do is also the other challenge. The other challenge that is also quite bigger, or is also systems changing, is what I actually call the NWR. So NWR are actually things that are non within our reach. Part of this type of challenge is really the fact about the security situation in our country, the macroeconomic policies, government policies that we don't have control over, the naira dollar rates. You know, these are things that we cannot control as social entrepreneurs, but at the end of the day, they impact the work that we do. Take, for example, in our country, Nigeria, the issue of security is actually, I mean, you can't, for example, run a tourism industry or run a tourism economy and have security issues. It cannot happen. You don't see anybody. I'm sorry to make the example of Syria or Afghanistan. You really don't see anybody packing their bags and going on holidays in some specific hotspots where there actually violence or insecurity going on. So um, as excited as we are to do the work that we do, but these are real structural problems and structural challenges that we do not have control over as social entrepreneurs or impact entrepreneurs. But at the end of the day, you have to deal with it. So in specifically to narrow down into the work that I do, last year, I mean, the statistics are already out. For example, right now in Nigeria, we have a 40% rate of unemployment and graduate unemployment, and this is actually documented unemployment. So there's actually no data about young persons that are out of high school or secondary school that are currently not in employment or training. So, and COVID-19, which we've also all been impacted by COVID, didn't even make it easier. A lot of companies are actually uh, cutting down on their staff. A lot of companies, you know, are also folding up operations in the country. A lot of course, that has also shrunk, like foreign direct investment or projects that do come into the country, and of course, like particularly specific sectors like the service sectors, events, you know, travel, tourism, hospitality. The entire sector was highly impacted, you know, by something we don't also have control over, which is COVID-19 as well. So it's also led, of course, to job losses, income losses, cut down. It's significantly impacted like household income across board. So that makes it even a lot more challenging for the young persons who are skilled, trained, trying to get into the workplace. So entry level employment is basically at the bar, is basically zero, because no, most companies are actually not taking on new staff right now. They are actually trimming down the current staff that they have. So it's a very challenging situation all along, and even for us as an organization as well, we are trying to figure out what do we do, how do we digitize our programs, you know, based on even the structural challenges that we do have in Nigeria. We do not have constant electricity for 200 million people. We are sharing less than 5 megawatts of electricity, which is totally unacceptable. And we also have structural inequalities. Think about it, for a family of 7 with 7 children. How do 7 kids have access to 7 laptops or 7 tablets to be able to attend online classes? And then, of course, you also need to also talk about the issue of data. How do they get access to internet connection, the cost of connectivity, and the ability to stay online, and then, of course, the electricity challenge. So it's I think beyond even the challenges that we can walk around. It's those challenges are even nominal challenges you can deal with, but the NWRs, which totally out of your reach, totally you are totally unable to deal with the situation as an impact entrepreneur. I cannot fix the security situation. I cannot hold back foreign direct investment or investors from who, due to either our fiscal or economic policies, are running off the country. So it's so the challenges are so micro and also quite macro for us to deal with. So, but all the same, we have to keep learning and navigating and adapting to the situation we find ourselves. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's one thing I love about Esther. She's very creative in adapting and learning new ways. So, because you are with fellow young change makers and young entrepreneurs, what would you say are the challenges all of you are facing now? So, and also as you look at social impact. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I think Esther has done a very great job of actually painting some of those challenges, and the challenges are really the same regardless of the sector that you work in. But something that's really important, which I think we don't talk about enough, and which I think Ashoka does a really great job of doing, is for us, especially in the health sector and people that set out to do things in social entrepreneur as social entrepreneurs or NGOs, is actually how we can sustain ourselves. So I have a full-time job. And I do this on as well on it, because as much as I would love to run Haima and staff full time, there's no way you can pay me anything that's substantial enough for me to be able to survive on. And that's a lot of things that I think young change makers and young entrepreneurs really struggle with, and which I think, like I said, Ashoka was the first organization that I've ever dealt with in all my years of doing change making, that has actually helped fund the actual change makers' personal expenses and allow them to have some funds for themselves. Oftentimes, people who go into social entrepreneurship are self-sacrificial, and it's very important to understand that we are putting in our time, we're putting in our effort. Oftentimes, as women as well, we're putting a lot of our emotions into these ventures and into these, organizations that we're trying to fund and trying to start. And if you think about it from that kind of macro challenges that Esther has spoken about, so unemployment is really high, the cost of everything is really going up. And you as, so I can give a personal example. When I wanted to, there was a year where I didn't work, I think it was about 18 months, where I just ran staff and Haima full time. And it was really difficult. It was really, really challenging. I had to go back into the job market because there was just no way I could continue it, just doing that. It was really great to be able to get grants. So we did, for our work, we get grants, we get donations, but those donations are not for us. Those donations are for for the projects that we're running, right? And so after 18 months, I just had to dust off my CV and say, as much as I love this and I'm really passionate about this, I have to be able to take care of myself first and my family members and the people that rely on me for various things. And so I think that's really a challenge that a lot of young change makers really, really struggle with. I know a lot of people that would love to do more for their local community, to do more in whatever sphere that they're passionate about, whether that's healthcare or agriculture, but they have to take care of themselves and they have to feed, and this economic challenges is, as Esther has put it, is really hard for a lot of people. And in Nigeria as well, for young people growing up, there's a expectation that you will look after maybe your younger ones, you look after your parents maybe, or whoever it is that you're doing, and you can't be chasing your passion, like we say, while, economically you're suffering yourself. So I think that if I was to say that one of the biggest challenges, apart from all the things that Esther is listed, is that, social entrepreneurs cannot eat their passion. They cannot clothe themselves or house themselves with their passion. It's really something that a lot of people who do want to make change really need support with.
Thank you, Bukola. Indeed, social entrepreneurs cannot eat their passion. They also the challenges shared and everything Mansi, Bukola, Esther shared. And given the fact that you work with different people for life, what would you say, how do you think that these challenges can be combated? And what are the tools and resources women need to be able to prioritize social impact? Paula.
Okay, I think I was initially going to speak about the challenges, which then informed the tools that I want to recommend based on the young change makers, the stories of young change makers, the experiences of young change makers within the network. So one thing I have understood over time when making comparisons between the male and female young change makers in the network is that the way the stories of the male social entrepreneurs is told by maybe other parties, not Ashoka. They're told in different ways. There are more stories about young men being told as opposed to young women. And this in a way, tends sort of we don't pay attention, but in a way it impacts the way we speak about social impact of the work that women are doing. So if we don't have a lot of numbers or a lot of success stories of the work.
Paula, there's an echo coming from you.
Yeah?
There's an echo. Is there a device? Do you have another device on?
No, it's just this one I'm using. Am I still echoing?
Yes.
Let's sort that out quickly.
Okay, no problem. So you come back. All right. I'd like to know from resources and tools women to be able to prioritize social impact, given that in the society we live now, social impact has become a core. So what do they need? What tools do women need to prioritize that?
I think that the first thing every woman needs to prioritize social impact would be that.
You're mute.
Hello?
You're mute.
Can you hear
yeah,
me now?
we can hear you now.
Sorry. Hit that.
Yes.
I said, I think that the first tool every woman would need to even prioritize social impact would be even understanding how to gather data. So know how to gather data, because I don't even want to start with technology. If you go to technology, they'll say, oh, there are apps and all that. No. First thing, how do I gather data? How do I break down my data? Am I working with children that are disabled, or am I working with children? So let's look at a large group of children. How many of them are disabled? How many of them are visual learners? How many of them are not even able to spell? So you break them in. When you're able to know how to gather data and how to different boxes they belong, then you can even start thinking of what the solutions are. More often than not, what my work does is more, what I do with my work is more bridge building. So I say, oh, you guys need to go to get opportunities to go to university. I'm like a junction. So I say, oh, go to after school, go and check their website, go to Esther. Oh, you guys need to go into high level leadership starting at your age as young people. I send them to young change makers. Okay, you guys, you have a health issue or you need health care, and that I send them to people like Bukola. So that is how it is that we start the work. We break it down into smaller units. So if every woman is able to even understand the scope of her work, so you understand your work, and then you understand the data surrounding your work. So you see, when you listen to Esther, you see that she's been able to break down her work into not just data research work. She's been able to prioritize, know where her needs are, know what solutions are needed. That way, when you see help, when you see people that are able to provide the help you need, you can even understand how to scale it up through social impact. So understand the data, then I'd also go to technology. It's odd, but I'd say to every woman that wants to prioritize social impact, to read a lot. You need to read a lot. You need to understand what is going on. You need to evolve with the trend. Not just every trend is what you need, but see what trend is. What is the World Economic Forum saying about healthcare? What is it saying about sickle cell? What's the data? How do you monitor and how do you evaluate? Then number three, from knowing how to gather data, knowing how to read, which is beginning to look for research for yourself, which adds technology. I would say three, which is always essential for me, monitoring and evaluation. Where am I? What do I want to achieve? What are my key performance indicators as I try to get to this point? What do I need to put in place? What do I need to check? What isn't done rightly? What can be done differently? When you put all that into place, you can now evaluate and say, okay, who is doing this work that I do? How are they doing differently? How are they able to reach much more people? And in the long run, what is it that I want to achieve and how can this work help me achieve that? So I think that basically every woman should, one, even understand how to break down the data. And when we say break down data, people think that it's such a huge work. Is to create smaller groups of impact. Know that this group, so don't have just the large numbers, break them down into groups of people that you can help, assist, and then work basically with them. That's the way I think every woman that wants to be able to directly be involved. And then also learn to network, learn to leverage on opportunities, learn to leverage on people, learn to leverage on partnership. There are lots of people that are out there that are willing to partner. Women need to learn in their organizations and with their work not to walk alone, but to get the relevant partnership, requisite partnership that helps them scale up their work and do the best they can do.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's so key. And you really listed all the things that are needed, especially those are going to open. So please, let's hear from Bukola. Do you have anything to share your as tools and resources that you need to capture social impact?
Yeah, thank you. I think I can actually give a really great personal example.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, Paula, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to be sure that the echo is good. Okay.
Yes, it's gone. Sorry. Bukola, please go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so I wanted to give a personal example based on my experience in the last Ashoka program. So what happened was that when I got into the program, Ashoka sent us some communications material and so on, and I was contemplating posting it on my LinkedIn. A part of me was like, I'm not sure if I should. I don't want it to be like I'm boasting, or, I don't want to center the whole, my organization around myself. It's something I actually really struggle with because I don't do the work by myself. We're a team of volunteers and so on. So I don't tend to like to be the face or to be the person in the limelight. And so a part of me was like, should I post it? Shouldn't I post it? But I was like, okay, you know what? Let me just go ahead and post it. And that post on LinkedIn went crazy. What then happened was that, and I think I sent this to you guys as well, was that my organization that I worked for saw it and they were so excited. They were like, oh my God, we didn't know you were doing this. How can we support you? They donated $5,000. Another organization reached out to me and said, oh, Bukola, we didn't know that you were doing this. And they also donated some money. And so that communication of what you're doing is so important. I really wish that we were able to teach better communication skills and how you can put yourself out there and put what it is that you're doing out there in the most effective way possible. So if I was to really say something that a particular skill that I think we really need more of, I think it's really communication skills, because a lot of people all over the world are doing some really, really great work, really impacting people, but we don't know about it, and conversely, there are some people who aren't doing anything and they're just really great at communication and really great at putting things out there. And you think that they're doing a lot, but they're really not. They're just very good at branding and marketing and communication. So really how to support young change makers with how to communicate their work, how to communicate their goals and all their achievements is something that I think is really important.
Yeah. Thank you. So the storytelling technique is very key. So being able to tell your story, understand your audience, and tell that story that will bring the visibility. Thank you so much for sharing that experience, Bukola. It's amazing. I don't know if we have any contribution from the audience. If we don't, I would like to hear from Paula. Paula, what do you feel is the intersection between the challenges and tools for social impact? Yeah, Paula. Go ahead, Paula.
So speaking
Paula, you're
from
mute.
experience
Okay,
of
go
work
ahead.
in the network, I've essentially seen that we have to really, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes. We can.
Actually,
go ahead. We've lost that. That's the issue. And the information that so that are coming up and about what are as is very key to.
I think in terms of advice, I would also like to wrap it around the tools. Like Bukola had actually said, communication is very key. But I think before that, capacity building is very key. Don't just start, don't just learn through a process, work under a system, understand what the issues is, like Manti had said, and be able to craft what exactly your problem is, what exactly the problem is, and what your solution would be. And then, so also invest in yourself, like self-investment is absolutely necessary. You have to have the right sets of skills to be able to manage a problem, manage an organization and solve a problem. And then the other thing is also you also have to leverage partnerships, like Manti said, like be able to partner with other people. There's no need, really no need to reinvent the wheel. So, and then the other thing is also, as much as possible, digitize. It's something that embarrassingly we are still trying to figure it out with the structural problems that we're dealing with. And I think the other thing is really there's no textbook, there's no manual to how to do this work. So you actually have to learn by doing and adapt. And that's what we've done in after school, being able to adapt our programs, being able to change, and literally being willing to let the market guide you, to let the market lead you, and not you trying to force fit the solution to the market, but being able to let the market guide you and lead you. And then the other thing I also would like to add is please figure out your business model. It's something that we failed woefully at after school. We didn't do this until we got into the Ashoka Globalizer program. And then we realized, okay, we're actually running with just a philanthropic model, which wasn't sustainable. So figure out your business model, no matter how it is, just figure out what the business model is. And the other thing is the 3 R's. Please rest, rejuvenate, and recharge. You need to take care of yourself. In as much as you want to solve a problem, you do not need to forget yourself. You need to remember that you need to be alive, you need to be healthy, you need to be a healthy person, you need to be in good shape. You need to, both physically, emotionally, and otherwise, to be able to take care of it, especially for women. Please rest, please rejuvenate. You really need to take time out for yourself as well. As much as you try to heal the world, heal yourself as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Esther, for that. Yeah. So women all over the world, we have to take out time, rest, because even before we can talk about so what are we doing? And what are we doing? And then that Paula, what would you say? What's the pattern you give us as tools that you feel critical for women-led organizations that you have met in the course of your work?
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, thank God.
We can.
So the tools I would recommend are actually based on challenges that I've discovered within the social entrepreneurship space. Basically, stories are told more. There are so many stories told about male social entrepreneurs. It's not, when you look at it, it's not like even normal male entrepreneurs who go to pitch at events. It's not that they have better qualities than the female entrepreneur, but it's the way the stories are told about the female social entrepreneurs. So I think there has to be a way we better communicate stories of women, because they're doing a lot of impactful work that speaks to mindset. Changing mindset is actually a solution to a lot of very deep systemic problems that we have in the society. And this is where women generally thrive. Women also work in trying to effect changes in policies or changing legislation, but only very on few occasions are their stories, the stories of their journeys told. Everyone is just looking for the results until when maybe the policy has been effected. But people forget that it takes years to get policy to be effected or to get cultural minds to be shifted. So I think it goes back to the question of just drawing on what Bukola said as well on communication, how we tell the stories of women. It's very important because right now the work of women is really underrepresented or underreported in the social entrepreneurship space. And also maybe borrowing also with the youth work that we're doing here in most of Ashoka Africa, all the youth networks in Ashoka Africa, we've sort of like clustered young change makers into different groups. They're the groups that they showed that interest that they want to work in: the girl development, the education, the health, and there's also the youth empowerment and development. So basically, these young change makers already understand the concept of collaborating, of working together, of partnerships. And they also mentioned that they want mentors. They want mentors because they understand that they are young and they don't have all the expertise, all the qualities. So they're looking out to work with Ashoka Fellows, who we've been able to match them with, and also thought partners along the way who are interested in the work that they're doing. But essentially, Ashoka Fellows, because Ashoka Fellows have been on this journey at such a young age, and up to until now, they've experienced a lot. They have a wealth of knowledge to learn from them. And I think this should be the general thinking for young female social entrepreneurs who have not yet opened their minds to cross-sector collaboration, to working collaboratively with other people, working with men, with women across different sectors. Because in essence, if we're thinking systems, we need to be able to partner with several stakeholders across different sectors in order to get the impact that we're looking for. Because we could set up an organization that has a social value, but then if the impact you're making is taking too long, it maybe speaks to, maybe you have to re-strategize to think of, who can I partner with? Who can I collaborate with? How can I play a more active role in a network in order to be able to get sustainable partnerships or get access to thought leaders who could probably just help us in re-strategizing, in the work we're doing, and then we hit like we have a wider reach for the number of people that we want our message to get to. So I think in a nutshell, it's just being open to partnerships, being open to collaboration is very, very key, because in Africa, sorry to say, a lot of people are not open to collaboration. We feel like our ideas will be stolen. But I think it all speaks to when you're thinking for the greater good, for the social good, it goes beyond you and working in the silo. There's a need to collaborate, and collaboration also because you can't have all the knowledge. You're bringing on different people who have skills in different areas. So you're not just coming together because you want to come together. It's because you understand that you may not have all the expertise in this particular area, but someone else has it. And then you all come together, think together, and by so doing, you build up the strength of your collective. And it could also go in a long way for you to be able to have a better chance for funding, because then you have a powerful team who has all the expertise. You're not necessarily getting money to go and start paying consultants, because all members, all leaders within that team are collaborating and they want the best for, let's say, the education sector or the health sector, depending on where they're working in. So for me, it's very key. We have to change the way of communication, building partnerships, and playing a more active role in networks that we are in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paula. Honestly, we have really come to an end, but I just want for a minute for Manti to share, what is that thing, what is that advice you give to that young teenager who wants to start her idea? 2 minutes.
Okay, that's a big one. What is that advice? I'd give to a teenager that wants to start an idea, I'll just tell her that if I want to use the Nigerian language, I'd say that things no, you don't just walk in and just feel that Esther is running a big NGO. I'm going to run. My own is not after school. My own is before school. I would just say, just get ready for. I'll just say, you know what? I'll just say welcome. Have good shock absorbers. See things as they go. Take a day at a time. Don't try to take 10 days. Don't worry. Write down a very big plan, but take it every day, one step of the way. Don't expect things to turn out. The economy will frustrate you. Human resource will frustrate you. Leadership will frustrate you. Can you imagine the number of young people that have started doing cryptocurrency and learning how to trade in Forex and learning how to do Bitcoin, and the system just shut down on them? So just live today. So you're done living today. And if you wake up tomorrow and it's a new book and you're asked to start a new page, just assume that it's a new teacher and there's a new note. Don't go in with so people say that it's living pessimistically, but I say that I don't go in with any expectations, so everything is a surprise for me. So I'd say to them, just brave up, and if you win in Nigeria, then you can win anywhere else around the world. Winning in Nigeria is the toughest thing to do, whether with social impact or with business. And know this: if you win here, if you win at home, you can win anywhere in the world. That's what I say to them.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very important for them to fail. And when they fail forward and they learn from it. And they get. But it's us that should be able to, and that, always on the things from, of course, it's women. I really want, I mean, the great come together again to share where we are and where we are going as women leaders. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you too.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, ladies.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.